Chapter 5 is called Elasticity and its Application. In this chapter, we're going to look at what is elasticity, what kinds of issues can elasticity help us understand, what is the price elasticity of demand, and how is it related to the demand curve, and how is it related to revenue and expenditure, what is the price elasticity of supply, and how is it related to the supply curve, and what are the income and cross-price elasticities of demand. Consider a scenario where you design websites for local businesses. You charge $200 per website, and you currently sell 12 websites per month. Your costs are going up, and so you're considering raising the price to $250. The law of demand says that you won't sell as many websites if you raise your price. How many fewer websites and how much will your revenue fall, or might it actually increase? Elasticity is defined as the measure of the responsiveness of quantity demanded or quantity supplied. How much is the responsiveness going to change? Price elasticity of demand is defined as how much the quantity demanded of a good responds to a change in the price of that good. So it's measuring price sensitivity of buyers' demand. So let's consider this scenario where the price elasticity of demand is computed as 1.5. So your price is going up by 10% and your quantity demanded is falling by 15%. You do not have to consider that even though price and quantity are moving in opposite directions, your price elasticity would actually be negative. We're going to ignore the negative and you will always get a positive number. So the standard method of computing percentage changes, you could go from A to B, or you could go from B to A. Depending on where you start, if we start at A and we calculate the difference between A and B, and then divide it by where you started, which was A, your price elasticity would be 1.33. However, if we start at B and compare B to A, we're going to get a different elasticity. We'll get a elasticity of 2.5. So we're going to simplify this process. Instead, we're going to use what's called the midpoint method. The midpoint is the number halfway between the start and end values. So it's the end value minus the start value divided by the midpoint between these two, and then we'll multiply it by 100%. So stated as an equation, you get this here. So let's go back to our previous example. So using the midpoint method instead, we're comparing the difference between A and B. So 250 minus 200 divided by what's the midpoint between these two numbers. The midpoint between 250 and 200 is 225. Multiply it by 100, you get 22.2%. Our change in quantity is 12 minus 8 over your midpoint of 12 and 8, which is 10. Multiply it by 100% and you get 40%. So our price elasticity is the change in quantity demanded over the change in price, our percentage change in price rather. So your elasticity is 1.8. I want you to use the midpoint method and calculate the elasticity given the following information.